I graduated from high school one week, and the next week I was off. I've encountered so many people working here in California, more than I would have thought. That first day, I was worried that I wouldn't find a place to sleep at night. As it is, I share an apartment with 4 other girls. We sleep in shifts when the others are at work. As soon as I hop out of bed, Agnes hops right in. Now that I'm working as a welder, I'm proud to do my part and help bring our boys home. I'm a production soldier, serving my country, like my brother Frank, who's in the Army. I didn't know how to go about finding clothes for this new job, but just like everything else, I figured it out. I had to buy the tools. The clothes are from my neighbor. Whew, are my feet sore, though it's not as bad as those first few days. Swollen hands, backache, eye strain, and the stress of knowing that everything I work on will be touched by our soldiers. If I mess up, they could die. Starting out welding in the shipyard wasn't too bad because the other girls are swell and they'll help you if you need it. The men, though, not so much. They pull little pranks like sending us gals to the tool department for a left-handed monkey wrench and things of the sort. Over time, welding has gotten easier and easier. My hands just know what to do. If you think about it, welding is a lot like embroidery, just with metal instead of thread. Oh, I've encountered challenges on this job. Did you know this shipyard wasn't built with any women's bathrooms? But the rewards more than make up for it. Aside from protecting our boys, I'm earning money for the very first time. I'm a working woman. That first paycheck, I didn't know what to buy with it. Of course, I bought war bonds with some, and with the rest, I bought the very last pair of stockings in the store. Thinking about it now, I can't even remember the last time I saw stockings for sale. Rationing. When I first ran off to come here to California, I was worried at how cross my parents would be, but boy, are they proud. They've shown my letters around to everyone else back home. When we were younger, my parents would give Frank $1 every Sunday to go to the general store, and I would get 25 cents. You can imagine how surprised they are that their daughter's making real money now. Speaking of Frank, I do miss him so. I got a letter from him the other day, though half the lines were blacked out. I used to sit at home and worry about him, but now that I'm working as a welder, I feel that I am helping to speed him on his way home. I hope that he'll be home soon. For now, I'll just have to wait for him to come home. I shouldn't have wasted the extra 15 cents. I've always wanted to try one of the 50-cent lunches and decide it was a good day to treat myself. But do you know, the only difference was a piece of fruit? The 35-cent lunch is always good. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's better than the bologna sandwich you get for 25. Every cent counts, you know. Before this war, I had never made a cent on my own, but now look at me. We're even making a little extra from the girls I'm renting the empty rooms to. The house seemed so empty when Charles first left for the war, but then I noticed that a few of the new girls in the plant had no place to stay. Now, I just can't get used to not wearing my wedding ring, and I must say I never thought I'd get used to wearing it in the first place. We were married so quickly before Charles left for the Navy, but at this plant, women can't wear any jewelry, even wedding rings. Apparently, it could get caught in one of the machines. That doesn't sit well with me, being a married woman and not wearing my ring, but I'd do anything to bring my darling home again. Before he left, he gave me this little bracelet. It says, "My man's in the Navy, hands off." It cost him 25 cents, same as one of the cheap lunches here, but I sure do appreciate it. The schedule here at Kyler hasn't been too bad, because so far I haven't had to work the swing shift. I couldn't imagine being here till midnight every day. Still, body gets tired after 10 hours of riveting, only a half-hour lunch to rest. Not that I'm complaining, especially now with all the new programs out there to help us women workers. My favorite grocery store in town now stays open into the evening, so I can do my shopping after work. And my friend Millie lives in a town where the grocery store comes right to the factory. They take orders in the morning and have your groceries waiting at the plant at the end of your shift. Isn't that handy? Though I do miss the daily reminder of Charles, I sure am glad that I've exchanged his work clothes for these. His were much too big. I had to stuff newspaper in the toes of the boots and was forever tugging those darn pants up. I never thought that I'd be able to continue to work for this many years. It's been nice, though, to make money. Compensation for a Navy wife is barely enough to keep oneself afloat. I do enjoy the work. It's much easier than I thought it would be. I hope that I'll continue to work. But the other day, I was at the movie house, and I saw this newsreel about women workers. And they were talking about how when their men come home, they'll go home to take care of them too. I do believe I'll do the same, because it would be so nice to have Charles home again. And any good soldier who's done his bit deserves to have his job back. I hope Charles will be home soon. For now, I'll just have to wait for him to come home. I'm proud that I did my part and that we were able to help our boys overseas. I sure am glad that the war is over. Soon as Joe came home, I quit work and exchanged my work clothes for an apron. Of course, I probably wouldn't have been able to continue to work. All of the girls that I worked with at the plant were laid off as the war came to a close. Now that we're not building guns and ships, the techniques used for wartime production are unnecessary. When I think about it now, I have no idea how I managed to work such long days at the plant during the war. Of course, I was willing to do it with Joe and my dear brother in the service. That work was hard, but I had no idea what work was to come. By the time I get the children dressed and fed breakfast, it seems as if half the day has flown by. Talk about time-consuming. I once spent an entire afternoon in line at the Woolworths in Oakland. Due to the wartime restrictions still being in place, I could only buy 12 diapers at a time. So I had to get back in line 5 more times just to get what I needed. Thinking back on the Depression and the war years, I'm amazed at how accessible everything is now. Every week when Joe makes out the budget, I am excited to think of the things that I can buy. New stockings, leather shoes for the children, cake mixes, and I might even try out this new Lux detergent I read about in the magazine. Tonight's dinner will be meatloaf with mashed potatoes and gravy, Joe's favorite. Of course, he would be happy if I made him steak every night of the week. But it is difficult for me to get to the supermarket on a regular basis as I don't know how to drive. When I walk to the store with one child in the buggy and the other on my hip, it takes ever so long. I do hope that Joe will teach me how to drive soon. My sister Martha worked with me at the plant during the war. She was laid off at the same time everyone else was and now works as a secretary. She's single. I don't know what we're going to do with her. She has this notion that she should continue to work, even after she gets married. Of course, her husband wouldn't allow that. In today's world, a woman's first priority is to her husband and her family. It is my sincerest hope that these priorities change for women in the future. I really think that Martha has the right idea. After working in the plant, I now know what women are capable of. My little girl will be raised believing that she can explore anything. Until we reach that time, I will be content to take care of my family in the best way possible. Speaking of my family, Frankie did the most adorable thing today. I hope Joe will be home soon so I can tell him. For now, I'll just have to wait for him to come home.